This is an introduction to using Google Sheets. Much like the others, we can start by giving it a name that we want to give it. And we can also use the star or the file folder to move it to whatever folder we want to move it to. Right now it's currently in this folder, so there's nowhere to move it to. So if we want to make a budget, for example, we can just start by putting supplies and cost and make two columns of this. And it's usually better to bold the titles of columns. It works out better when we're working with things. And if you put some classroom supplies like pencils, paper, rulers, calculators, etc. And then if we put in the cost for a budget that we're looking at, so maybe we want to spend $20 on pencils and $30 on paper and $20 on rulers and $50 on calculators. Well, right now this just looks like numbers, and we can make it into dollars by highlighting them to select them all and then hitting the dollar sign. That makes them currency. You can see that it puts them all in there as currency. Now if we want to add up all of these, we're going to use a function to do that. And the function that we use to add things up is the function of sum. Formulas always start with equals. And then we're going to use the sum function. And then we just highlight the cells we want to add up, put our last parenthesis for our formula, and enter. And that gives us a total of $120. Now because this is a formula, if I change the cost of the paper to $25, it automatically changes the total down here. Formulas are also found, common ones, in this formula drop-down box, so that you can use those to put things in. So this is the total there. If I wanted to find the cheapest item, I'm going to use a function called minimum, or min. So I can use min, and again, inside the parentheses, I want to highlight all the costs that I'm looking for. And it's just these four. I want to make sure I don't get the total in there, because I don't need to figure out if the total was cheaper than any of the parts. And I hit enter, and it tells me the cheapest item I have is $20. Again, if I change the cost of this, of pencils, and I'm actually going to use the hand on the edge to move this down one, to put a little space here to see. If I change the cost of the pencils to $15, it's going to automatically change both the total and the cheapest. These formulas keep updating as you go. If I want to find the most expensive, I'm going to use a function called max, and that of course finds the largest value in anything you highlight, in any group that you highlight, and hit enter to get that in there. I can also find the average cost, and average can be used for anything, but we're going to use the function of average of these four items, and it tells me the average item cost is $27.50. Now, if I wanted to add tax, I can take the total with tax, and I can say that I want what's in this cell to equal the total plus 6% of the total equals $116. And if the total is $110, the tax would be $6.60. So the total with the tax is $116.60. Again, it's the total plus 6% times the total gives me the total with tax. You can also use multiple sheets. So I want to add a new sheet down here. I just use the plus to add a sheet. That's a new tab. So this is like a notebook of spreadsheets. So here's sheet 1, here's sheet 2. If you want to rename the sheets, hit this little arrow and rename. And I can call this a budget. And sheet 2, for example, I'm just going to call this second sheet. And notice how it gets bigger or smaller as you need it. I can take this information here, copy it by right-clicking and copy, go into the second sheet, right-clicking and pasting, and it puts it all in there again, and it keeps it there for me. And now I can actually insert, if I wanted to, a column by going insert, column to the left, what's a new column here. I can insert a row if I wanted to, above where I've already got, and it puts an extra row there. So if you realize as you're going that you need more space for things, you can insert extra rows and columns and make it work still. You can also use the insert to put a new sheet in. You can put comments in. You can insert a function through this menu as well. So I'm going to make another sheet here, and I'm going to call this Days of the Week. And I'm going to put, let's see, Monday here. And now Google Sheets can predict what you might want to do. And that's this little extra handle here, this little square. And you notice how you get a different size cursor. Out here you get the arrow. On the line you get the hand, but here you get the little plus sign. If you grab that handle, the plus sign, and drag it down, it predicts what you might put in the rest of those. So if I'm starting with Monday, it's going to guess Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. So you don't have to type everything. You can do the autofill to use that. It's called the fill handle. Now Wednesday, of course, I can turn into a link by clicking the link button. And again, I can use this to search. If I want to make it a link to Blue Ridge High School, it will actually do a Google search automatically to find what I probably mean. And this is the link I want. I hit apply, and now that's a link that can take me places. I can also adjust the width of the column by clicking and dragging, or if I double click, it automatically sizes it to whatever the largest thing is. The header, I can put days of the week and make that bold, and notice that it goes over into cell B, right? It's bigger than the cell. Well, if I don't want to make this wider, I can actually adjust the wrapping to make the text wrap around to make multiple lines. By default, it doesn't do that. By default, as you type, it just keeps going on and on and on in a straight line. But you can actually adjust if it wraps. You can also adjust if you want it to come to the top, the middle, or the bottom of the cell. So if I put in over here a word like age, right now it goes to the bottom. But I can adjust it to go to the middle, or I can adjust it to go to the top, depending on what you want, how you want it to look. You can also center things inside of a cell, or make them go to the right if it makes it line up better for you, however you want to do that. You can highlight these different colors, and now in this case, you don't highlight with this button, which is how you do it in docs or sheets. You have to actually use the fill. So you can fill it with different colors if you wanted to, depending on what needs you had. You can also add borders. I could click here, and this is the borders button, and I can add borders as I go, and you can see it puts a little black line. And if I printed this, it'd have a black line just around days of the week. Now, sometimes you get very long things. You forget what column has what thing in it. And the way we fix that is something called freeze. So under the View menu, you can freeze the top row, or the top 2 rows, or as many rows as wherever your box is. I'm just going to freeze 1 row right now. You know, it's get this extra line. But as I scroll down, this first row stays showing, so I can keep track of what column is what if I have a lot of things, like a lot of students that I'm keeping track of. You can also change the color of the tab by clicking on the arrow, and you can change the color of the tab itself. You get this little extra colored line here to show you that those are different colors, if that helps you keep track of things by color coding. You can also make a copy of the sheet by using duplicate, and it'll say copy of the sheet, and notice it keeps the color as well. Now, I did give you a shared document that was called class grades. So let me open up the class grades document. And we're going to play around a little bit with some of these. These class grades were generated completely randomly. So if you had a low score next to your name, don't worry about it. It was really, honestly, truly a random score that was brought up. So right now I just have everybody listed kind of in a random order with random grades. And what I want to do is alphabetize them. The best way to alphabetize them is using something called a sort. And to sort things, I want to make sure that I get all the columns that are going to be switched around. Because if you only highlight one column or two columns, that last column's not going to change, and all of a sudden the grades don't match the people anymore. Sort is this little, it's under data. You can sort by column A, or you can do a sort range, which is easier, gives you a little bit more choice. You want to say it has a header row. So that means it's not going to alphabetize the word student. And you can sort it by student first. And I want it to go A to Z, so in order. And then if there are multiple students with the same last name, you could also organize it by a period or by their grade or whatever other column you want to. I'm going to go ahead and get rid of this because there's only one of each last name. And I hit sort, and now the names are in alphabetical order. I can also sort, if I wanted to, by period. And so I go back to data, sort range, and this time I'm going to sort by period first, and then by the student's name. And now when I hit sort, it'll put all the first periods and alphabetize them within first periods, then all the second periods and alphabetize in second period, and so on. You can also filter. So if I wanted to look through these and only see third period, this is the filter, and I'm going to create a filter view where I only want to see, so I don't want to see first, I don't want to see second, I don't want to see fourth. Good. Now I only see those that are in third period. Now I can always adjust that by coming back and putting it back in. I want to see all of them, and it puts them all back in. I can also sort just by grade. I want to see everything by condition. I want to see everything that is less than 60 because 60 is passing, so less than 60. Okay? And that didn't work right. Well, that's okay. We'll go back and fix that later. All right. Oh, so I don't have any less than 60. I didn't make anyone fail. Let's say less than 70. That would be good. Filter by condition. Less than 70. So this will show everyone with a D or an F. There we go. So I purposely didn't have anyone fail. So you can sort it by that. So you can see, well, who do I need to get to come to Power Hour? You can also, instead of filtering, and this might be easier, is to actually use something called conditional formatting. And so if I highlight all of these grades, I can say under data, or formatting, conditional formatting, and I want to say every cell that is less than 70, I want to show up as red. And there it goes. It only highlights the cells that are less than 70. You can also use the Explore tool to look at some other ways of looking at the data. You can format it so you get, the alternating lines of color if that's easier for you. You can automatically put in the analysis. It comes up with the different graphs for you. You can also look at, well, who's the top student, or is there a correlation between the period and the grade, or what is the median score? It lets you do all these things just based on what you're looking at. So this Explore button has a lot of things that you can look at and explore with your data. And that does it for this one.